So August 20th is only about a month away, and I couldn't be more excited for Black Myth: Wukong. This is the game I've had my eye on since the beginning of the year, and as we've gotten closer, we've found out so many awesome details regarding Black Myth: Wukong. So in this video, we're going to do a quick rundown of pretty much everything that we know so far, from the different styles of combat to the semi-open world, all the different challenging enemies and bosses we're going to face, and much more. So before we get into some specifics, let's go ahead and do a brief overview of everything you can expect from Black Myth: Wukong. First and foremost, this is going to be a Souls-lite game. Game Science is very adamant about saying that this is not a Souls-like game. In fact, they would much rather prefer action RPG. However, there are going to be some heavy Souls-like references in terms of bonfire checkpoints, skill tree level up, and skill point loss on death, but we'll get into all of that in just a minute. But the main thing you need to understand, especially when it comes to the storyline of the game and when it's supposed to be taking place, is this game draws heavy inspiration from Journey to the West. However, the story of Black Myth: Wukong is going to pick up after that book ends, so the Destined One character that we end up playing is actually an unknown monkey so far. Game Science has been very tight-lipped about who we're actually playing as. Some people have speculated it's a different timeline Wukong, and others think we may be able to play as both versions of Wukong. It just depends on what Game Science has in mind. But as of right now, we still are in the dark about this aspect. However, let's shed some light on some things that we do know and that Game Science has revealed to us about Black Myth: Wukong. First and foremost, this is not an open world game. It is a very linear game, much like the old Dark Souls series. However, this game is still going to reward exploration because although the paths are linear, they are absolutely massive and will hide many different treasures, hidden bosses, and many other secrets that Game Science has in store. But one thing Game Science is not keeping secret about Black Myth: Wukong is the fact that there are going to be over 80 challenging bosses and over 120 different enemy types. This is going to be absolutely massive, and there is heavy speculation that this is going to be a boss rush type game. With that many bosses in the game, as well as some hidden bosses that we haven't seen, it will be very interesting to see how the world connects itself. There could potentially be a lot of enemies between bosses, or this could be very short segments in between giant boss fights. We'll just find out when the game releases. But speaking of boss fights, you can't have boss fights without having some really awesome combat. So when referencing the combat in Black Myth: Wukong, the developers have said in a few words, attacking will be your best defense within Black Myth: Wukong. In my opinion and the gameplay I've seen so far, Black Myth: Wukong looks like it is a very aggressive game. Not just aggressive attacks from the player, but also bosses seem incredibly aggressive. So being able to time these dodges as well as being very aggressive with your attacks is going to benefit you greatly while playing Black Myth: Wukong. There is no guard, however, so this is going to be an interesting part of the combat. Instead, there is a very Bloodborne type dodge that is going to take a little bit of getting used to. Another game that comes to mind that is going to have a very similar dodging aspect to it is Lies of P, so if you've played either of those games, then Black Myth: Wukong is going to be a welcome addition to your gaming repertoire. You will also have 3 separate stances that you will be able to acquire on your playthrough: Smash Stance, Pillar Stance, and Thrust Stance. Each one of these is going to have a very different attack style. Smash Stance is going to be the very first and original stance that you have with the Destined One. Pillar Stance is going to allow you to stand really high up on your staff and then slamming it on the ground, not only avoiding attacks but also providing crushing damage. And then Thrust Stance is going to allow you to do heavy thrusting attacks, knocking enemies over and doing a ton of damage. Now, the timing of combat in Black Myth: Wukong is much faster than a normal Souls-like player would expect. Usually we get a much slower and more methodical, calculated type of combat, but in Black Myth: Wukong, your combat is pushed to the limit with quicker attack patterns, quick dodges, and well-timed heavy attacks that when strung together will allow you to attack with a flurry of moves that look like something out of a Devil May Cry game. There will also be multiple spells in which you will have 4 spell slots. Each of these will hold one of your spells, but there will be a multitude of spells that are going to fight for your 4 slots based on what you need for that given boss fight. These spells are going to allow you to do things like transform into a wolf with a fire twin blade, or immobilize your enemy directly where they stand so you can get a ton of damage off really quickly without taking any damage yourself. And if you're wondering about the difficulty of the game, this game is going to have one difficulty level and you will not have the ability to switch back and forth between easy, medium, or hard. It's just going to be Black Myth: Wukong. The developers have equated this game to being very much like Jedi Fallen Order or Sekiro, so that should help you put into your mind how difficult this game might be. Now, with all this being said, we wouldn't be able to give a full news breakdown if we didn't talk about the lack of Xbox that's going to be happening at launch of Black Myth Wukong. During the testing of the game, the Xbox Series S could not keep up with Black Myth, therefore Xbox will not be getting this game at launch. It will only be coming to PlayStation and PC until they can figure out how to get it to run adequately to their standard on an Xbox. Now with that being said, there is no definitive date as to when Xbox will be receiving Black Myth Wukong, but it will come at a later date for sure. There are still plans to be working out the kinks of the game on Xbox, and myself being an Xbox player, this was pretty disappointing for me, but this game is going to cause me to take the first step into massive PC gaming, so I can't be too mad at it. Now, we mentioned before that the different stances that you're going to be attaining within Black Myth Wukong are different fighting styles. However, these are also different skill trees that you're going to be able to level into with your skill points. And although these skill trees have not been revealed to us so far, there's a lot of speculation that they'll be broken up by spellcasting, aggressive gameplay, and overall quality of life for Black Myth, meaning health buffs, stamina buffs, so on and so forth, that you can put your skills into. I'm really excited to see which one of these skill trees that I like the best, but spellcasting typically is really overpowered in these type of games, so I might just jump directly into that. Only time will tell though, because everything that we've seen so far makes this game look absolutely incredible. But that's going to be it for this particular news roundup. I will be doing Black Myth Wukong videos the closer the game gets to launch, and then you can expect a ton of content on this channel for Black Myth Wukong. I'm really excited to see this game perform, and it looks like a nice breath of fresh air into the gaming industry, because as you know, I love Elden Ring, but it's definitely time to move into something else and get a different gaming experience with new lore, new story, and fantastic combat. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments of Black Myth Wukong. Are you excited? Are you timid about playing it? Do you not want to order it at all? I'd love to know your thoughts down below, and until next time guys, stay safe, enjoy the game, and I'll see you in the next one.